We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
On Mark Dolan tonight, my Mark Meets guest is one of the most compelling people we've ever had on the show. Hyun Park escaped the evil North Korean regime, and she tells her harrowing story at 10. Hear about the true horrors of the worst totalitarian outfit in the world. With me all night, reacting to the big stories of the day, my fabulous panel, radio legend Diddy David Hamilton, model and TV personality Leilani Dowding, and broadcaster and Olympic hero Chris Akabusi. In the big question, following Halifax Bank's decision to encourage staff to have pronouns on their name badges, and with Ben & Jerry's ice cream having an opinion on Britain's migration policy, is it time for big business to stay out of politics? We'll hear from the former chairman of Pizza Express, Luke Johnson, and the founder of Pimlico Plumbers, none other than Charlie Mullins. Looking forward to that conversation. Expect sparks to fly. In the news agenda, we'll be asking, should the government have the right to control the speed of your car? And as the iPhone celebrates its 15th anniversary, have smartphones made the world a better place? Also, poor old Rupert Murdoch has ended his marriage to Jerry Hall, allegedly by email. So what is the appropriate way to dump your partner? In my big opinion, in 2 minutes' time, the siren voices for more COVID measures are coming back to haunt us. And I say no, no, no. We've got a busy 2 hours. We don't do boring. First up, here are the headlines with Bethany Elsie.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Bethany Elsie, here to get you up to date on GB News. The former Deputy Chief Whip, Chris Pincher, is seeking professional medical support and hopes to return to his duties as an MP as soon as possible. He's resigned from his post on Thursday after allegations of sexual misconduct. He's accused of groping 2 men at a private members' club while drunk. Mr Pincher was suspended from the Conservative Party yesterday after the parliamentary watchdog launched an investigation. He says he's truly sorry. The Home Secretary has vowed to get justice for a group of migrants who died in a small boat when crossing the English Channel last year. Priti Patel warned the UK and French authorities would pursue the people smugglers responsible for the deaths of 27 migrants. They drowned after their boat sank halfway across the Channel last November. 10 suspects have appeared in court in France, charged with multiple offences, including manslaughter and human trafficking. A senior MP is calling for a whole-system approach to tackle violence against women, including the police, education and criminal justice systems. The chair of the Women and Equalities Committee, Caroline Noakes, told Radio 4 public sexual harassment should be made a crime. It has hundreds of people gathered for a vigil dedicated to the law graduate Zara Aleena, who was killed in East London last week. The 35-year-old was found minutes from her home in the early hours of Sunday. And Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, has paid tribute to one of Scotland's all-time football greats, as former Rangers and Scotland goalkeeper Andy Goram has died. Goram revealed in May he'd been diagnosed with terminal cancer. Rangers said they're deeply saddened and described him as a legendary goalkeeper. He made 260 appearances for the club between 1991 and 98, winning 5 league titles and 43 caps for Scotland. He was 58. And more than 1 million people have gathered in central London to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the UK's first ever Pride Parade. Dame Kelly Holmes has said she'll never live behind that curtain again. She spoke at the event in the capital just a few weeks after publicly coming out. The Olympian introduced singer Emily Sandé before her performance in Trafalgar Square, who also came out in recent months. The Mayor of London has described it as the biggest and most inclusive Pride Parade in history.
I'm quite clear. We're marching today for an open, inclusive, accepting world. We're marching today for those in Oslo, those who haven't made the progress we've made. We're also marching today for love. I'm quite clear. Here in this great city, we should be a beacon of inclusiveness, of openness, but also a place where you can be free to be who you want to be and free to love who you want to love.
On TV, online and DAB plus radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to Mark.
It's Saturday night and welcome to Mark Dolan Tonight. Shall we have some fun? Absolutely. And lots of great debate along the way. In the news agenda with my panel, should the government have the right to control the speed of your car? As the iPhone celebrates its 15th anniversary, have smartphones made the world a better or worse place? And after Rupert Murdoch allegedly ended his marriage to Jerry Hall by email, what's the appropriate way to dump your partner? Reacting to those stories and many more are my amazing panel of radio legend Diddy David Hamilton, model and TV personality Leilani Dowding, and broadcaster and Olympic hero Chris Akabusi. My Mark Meets guest is one of the most compelling people we've ever had on the show. Hyun Park escaped the evil North Korean regime, and she tells her amazing story at 10. Hear about the true horrors of the worst totalitarian outfit in the world. In the big question, following Halifax Bank's decision to encourage staff to have pronouns on their name badges, and with Ben & Jerry's ice cream having an opinion on Britain's borders policy, is it time for big business to stay out of politics? We'll hear from all sides on that one, including a top US entrepreneur and the former chairman of Pizza Express and Channel 4, Luke Johnson, and the founder of Pimlico Plumbers himself, the remarkable Charlie Mullins. They're all live at 9:20. Now, I want to hear from you throughout the show. The best bit of my programme is when you get in touch. mark@gbnews.uk. And this show has a golden rule. What is that golden rule? We don't do boring. Not on my watch. I just won't have it. So there you go, a really busy couple of hours for you. Big guests, big stories, and always big opinions. Let's start with this one. Hey, do you remember that whole COVID thing? The potentially nasty, but in most cases mild virus? You know, the respiratory bug we all but destroyed the economy and society trying to stop. The one a third of people would have no symptoms from and were told to pretend they had. Act like you've got it. Remember that campaign? Well, COVID is back. The Guardian report that COVID infections in the UK have risen by more than 30%. That's right, 30% in a week, with an estimated 2.3 million people thought to have had the disease in late June. Plus, there's a slight rise in hospitalisations. On the 30th of June, there were 9,000 patients with COVID in hospital, 9,000 with COVID in hospital in England, up from 6.5 the previous week. Now, that sounds worrying, doesn't it? Except that those numbers include people who are not in hospital for or with COVID, but who have tested positive whilst being treated for something else, like a twisted ankle or a bad back. So they're not in hospital with COVID as such. But hey, why let the facts get in the way of a good story? For 2.5 years, these terrifying COVID statistics, so beloved of the media, have been as misleading as a Gary Barlow tax return. But given that people are not dropping like flies in their local Tesco, I think you can safely say Syria is unwarranted. That won't stop it, of course. Even though Omicron is milder than the jokes in Last of the Summer Wine, we've seen countless quadruple vaxxed celebrities and public figures announcing on Twitter they have COVID, ironically undermining the case for their beloved jab. We've seen one particular leading UK TV presenter this week record videos from the luxury of his spare bedroom, of course, being given what looked like his last rites. He was talking about people shielding. Tie down your mother, he said, each to their own, and lock up your daughters. Use of lock up, quite the Freudian slip there. All of this before doing a TikTok dance video. That's right, a TikTok dance video, and being back on telly later that week. Miraculous recovery. Well, here's a comment which I made this week, which went viral. I think it touched a nerve with many. I wrote, may I humbly suggest a ban on people announcing via Twitter they have COVID. Never before has a disease been worn with such pride or enthusiasm. It's almost like it's subtle ammunition for more ruinous, failed measures. Welcome to hell. That was my view, and that remains my view. Now, those who wish to get back to normal life, help with the economic recovery and put the last 2 years behind us, which is most people, have a stubborn obstacle. That obstacle is what I call the COVID industry. That's right, this is the first virus in history to have had its own marketing campaign, with the government spending millions scaring the bejesus out of us, and with media outlets amplifying the fear porn as a grateful thanks for the advertising income. Manufacturers have made billions from masks, those hellish plastic screens everywhere, PCR tests, hand sanitizer, and all the rest of it. Software companies have made a fortune from the apps and the tracking, which resolutely failed at a cost to you and me of £34 billion. Fast food companies have coined it with junk food deliveries, and Amazon have crushed the high street by bringing the high street to your front door. And then there's the vaccine, which for the notoriously unethical pharmaceutical industry has been the greatest gold rush in history. Don't get me wrong, anyone who risks serious illness or death from COVID would be mad not to have the jab, in my view. If I'm 80, overweight and suffering asthma, I'll take more needles than Pete Doherty. But jabbing healthy kids? Over my dead body. Over 2 disastrous years, these hellish so-called experts, who are now resurfacing like unwanted mildew in your shower, took our willing hand and walked us into hell, aided and abetted by numerous high-profile TV and radio broadcasters. Remember those government press conferences? Why didn't we lock down sooner? Asked the journalists. They wanted all of the measures, longer, harder, faster. If that's what you want, dear, go and live in China. You won't be missed. That footage from Singapore of people screaming with hunger and thirst out of their apartment block windows was as close to hell on earth as you will get. That's what zero COVID looks like. What about Saint Jacinda Ardern, the Kiwi Mussolini, begging viewers of British daytime TV this week to visit police state New Zealand? Good luck with that. I even feel sorry for the sheep in that once great country. I expect the siren calls for COVID measures to get louder in the weeks and months to come. So many of these medics and scientists, in my view, got it so wrong. They shouldn't be on TV. They should be in exile now, atoning for their mistakes and their crimes. And the modelers, who consistently, wildly overstated the risk of COVID, should frankly be locked up. What were they all thinking? $500 billion borrowed to pay healthy people to stay at home, to stand by as their once viable businesses closed down. Collapsed marriages, impounded cars, repossessed homes, damaged, diminished lives, especially kids and young people, future generations being born into an ocean of debt, all at the hands of these siren lockdown voices, which are shamelessly coming back to haunt us. The reason why these measures are so popular is because they involve controlling people. The powers that be and sado scientists have been getting off on telling us what to do, covering our faces, keeping us at home, and punishing anyone that tries to actually live their life. Not everyone will share my view, but we can all at least agree that the COVID measures were damaging. So how much more do you want? We've got almost 10% inflation. Shall we have 20%? 30%? The national debt is over $2 trillion, payable by our kids and grandkids. Should we go to 3 or 4 trillion? Britain is broke and broken, all thanks to echo chamber scientists who refuse to listen to other voices. Thanks to weak politicians who panicked and caved into the pressure, and privileged media figures who were cheerleaders for all of this and for whom it was all a game. I've been calling out this madness on the national airwaves since April 2020. It's all online, have a dig and watch it all back. And I'm not alone. One of the most renowned medics on the planet, Professor of Medicine at Stanford University and infectious disease expert, Professor Jay Bhattacharya, has called the COVID measures the biggest public health mistake in history. And he knows his onions. I cannot and will not see any more damage done to our country and our society in an ongoing experiment that future generations will look back at with incredulity. I will have no part in future lockdowns, worthless mask mandates, obligatory vaccines, PCR tests, social bubbles. I'm not having any of it. Whilst the siren calls for more measures will of course come, I believe that the silent majority who now want to move on and know that we need to move on will get louder. The last 2.5 years have taught us that if we give these stubborn, closed-minded and heartless technocrats an inch, they'll take a mile. 3 weeks to flatten the curve, a statement that's aged about as well as dear old Joe Biden. God bless him. And of course, we've got the laughable inquiry. £4 million a year it's going to cost, the COVID inquiry. And it will take years and years to conclude. And it will be a bigger stitch-up than Sharon Osbourne's last facelift. We don't need a bloody inquiry. No discernible difference between countries that had strict measures and others that did not. That shows how wrong it all was. In many cases, including Sweden and states in America like Florida and Texas, lighter measures produced better outcomes. Go figure. And of course, a fraction of the damage. The truth is that we complied with these measures because we wanted them to end, except that our compliance meant they never would. And now the scientists and commentators who have done so much damage to this country are back. And they want to do it all over again. We are trapped on a hellish roller coaster, and it's time to get off. Just say no. Reacting to that and all of the big stories of the day, my stellar panel tonight, radio and TV legend David Hamilton, model, political commentator and TV personality Leilani Dowding, and broadcaster, public speaker and Olympic hero Chris Akabusi. Well, let me start with you, Leilani Dowding. Do you hear the siren voices calling for more measures?
Do you know what? I think I'm in a circle where I don't hear that. Luckily, I've seen a lot on Twitter. I've seen people saying, yeah, you know, more measures, but I don't see that in my circle anymore.
However, we have, don't we, quite high-profile TV presenters doing viral videos about how they're at death's door with COVID.
Well,
a few days later, they're back in the studio.
Well, this is the thing, and you know, it doesn't look good because they have been fully jabbed numerous times. They've been promoting it and promoting it. Then talk about how, you know, they've got it again, and there's other people that have had it for the third or fourth time. I still haven't been jabbed. I still haven't caught COVID, as far as I know. I'm not concerned at all. And I think people like my parents have called me up and said, look, you know what? I'm kind of seeing that you might be right, actually, in what you were saying. So I think there's actually, if anything, a wakening up. If you know, Boris has said that he can't promise he won't lock down again, but I don't think there are very many people that will go along with it this time. I really, truly don't.
David Hamilton, we absolutely hate this virus. It's taken too many from us, and it's been a nightmare for the world and a personal tragedy for millions. But can the country tolerate any more economic or societal damage? I can't believe that there are still voices out there calling for more of this.
Where are you, Mark? You seem to be a long, long way away, and I'm having
you know what it is, David? I'm socially distancing because I'm at death's door with Omicron.
Are you in this country or another country? Are you abroad somewhere? Oh, there you are. Hi. Are you talking about COVID? I've been so lucky to avoid it. Honestly, I don't know how I have done, but I think we're all absolutely sick to death of it, aren't we? And, yeah, but you've still got to be careful. I mean, it hasn't gone away, no doubt about that.
But would you, David, do you think it's justifiable for the government to countenance future lockdowns, mask mandates, social distancing, work from home orders? Do you honestly think, David, that our punch-drunk economy can take any more, any more of a beating?
I think it was a no-win situation, wasn't it? I mean, you know, the worst possible scenario is obviously that people die, and the next worst scenario is that the economy is ruined. So, I mean, this Prime Minister's had a hell of a lot of stick, but I can't think of another Prime Minister who has, been trying to run the country at a more difficult time. I think it's just been absolutely impossible. So whatever he did was wrong. I certainly don't want to be locked down again. And I agree with you. I don't think people will go for that. Where we go from here, honestly, I don't know.
Well, and that's an important point, isn't it, Chris Akabusi, that where we go from here is a difficult place because the virus is not going anywhere. Omicron, whilst milder than Delta and Alpha, is still nasty for some people and a threat to the vulnerable. But my concern is the colossal economic damage that we're now dealing with. Therefore, if anyone even suggests we should have more measures, I think they're up a gum tree.
Look, I mean, the coronavirus has been with us ever since I've been here. I mean, every year the coronavirus is here. It's just that in 2019 we had a particular virulent strain that took lives, and every one of those obviously is a sad story in itself.
Of course.
But I'm not a proponent of lockdowns at all. I did adhere to it, and I disagree with you in this much, Mark. I do believe if the mechanisms of control, the fourth estate, all the politicians, all the celebrities, all the media tell us we've got to be locked down, we will be locked down. I was so surprised. I was really surprised at how compliant we were as a nation. And that tells me, I mean, one of the quotes I like from a guy called Fred Nietzsche is that man is a domesticated animal, and I saw how domesticated we were, that actually once everybody got together and told us what to do, we did it. Now, like Leilani, I've not been jabbed and I've not had COVID. I mean, I'm sure I have had COVID, I just didn't know that I had COVID. Because I said the coronavirus has been with us year in, year out. It's just that 2019, 2020 was a very particular, virulent a virus. Strain of the virus.
There were actually some countries that didn't lock down, and apparently they had a better record than we did, isn't that right?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly right. I mean, certainly Sweden, for example, has a lower per capita death rate than the United Kingdom, France and Germany. We also saw states in the United States of America that lifted mask mandates, lockdowns, school closures a year before other states. and again enjoyed a lower overall death rate from COVID. The bottom line is it's all up for debate. What is your view? Mark at gbnews.uk. Will you tolerate future measures? Do you think that the siren voices for more lockdowns, more mask mandates are on their way? I'm getting in there early and I'm saying no, no, no. But if you think yes, 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 drop me a line, mark at gbnews.uk. We've got such a busy show. What a fabulous panel. I think you'll agree. Very excited about David, Leilani and Chris. They've got lots to get through tonight in the news agenda with my panel later this hour. Should the government have the right to control the speed of our car? What do you think about that? How do you feel about the government controlling that Cinquecento of yours, that Audi or that Renault? Also, my Mark Meets guest is extraordinary. She is a North Korean defector and she tells her story about the most evil regime on earth. Plus, US News with Kinsey Schofield. And after 10, another monologue. Yes, my take at 10. I'll be dealing with Tesco versus Heinz. It's all out war, and I've picked a side. See you in 2.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
A very big response to my big opinion monologue, Mark at gbnews.uk. It's my view that the siren voices calling for more COVID measures are getting louder, aided and abetted by high-profile media celebrities. Well, how about this in response? Stacey says, Mark, I caught COVID this week after avoiding it for 2.5 years. My hospital workplace have just put mandatory mask wearing back in, the Welsh Health Board. It's been very mild considering all the scaremongering you see in mainstream news. I wish we could just get on with our lives. I've had worse colds. Well, Stacey, I'm sorry you've not been well and I do wish you a speedy recovery. Wanda, more lockdowns, Mark? No, no, no. I am, says Wanda, a lockdown rebel. How about that? This from Declan. I wonder what the comparable suicide rates are in relation to Sweden and what domestic violence rates are compared to Sweden as well during lockdown. Well, of course, another concomitant of lockdowns was domestic violence, increased drug addiction, people eating the wrong food, being really unhealthy. Very, very sad stuff indeed. All, I would argue, self-inflicted, but it's all about opinions. What's yours? You know, I love hearing from you when you don't agree. And Stephen does not agree. Dear Mark, COVID is out there. It's still dangerous. We've got to be careful. This is about saving lives. Stephen, thank you so much for that. I love it when we don't agree. It's all about opinions. And how about this finally from Anouk? What a lovely name, Anouk. Hi, Anouk. Dear Mark, thank you for your monologue tonight. My sentiments exactly. Please keep on the case. The last 2 years have destroyed far too many lives. Well, Anouk, that is something I've been actually saying quite a lot in the course of the pandemic, which is we know about economic damage, but why is it okay to actually damage people's lives, you know, their quality of life, their happiness, their mental health? Why is that reasonable collateral damage? In my view, it ain't. Let's crack on. So much more to get through. At 10 o'clock, another mini monologue, my take at 10. Tesco are at war with Heinz, and I've picked a side. Find out at 10. It'll be very interesting and it'll get messy, so you won't want to miss that at 10. Also, in the studio, a woman that escaped the evil North Korean regime tells me her incredible story. You won't want to miss that. Lots more to come, but it's time now for the big question in which we tackle a major news story of the day. Tonight, following Halifax Bank's decision to encourage staff to have pronouns on their name badges, and with Ben & Jerry's ice cream having an opinion on Britain's border policy, is it time for big business to stay out of politics? To debate this, I'm delighted to welcome three business luminaries, but we're going to kick off at the moment with two of my favourite people. British entrepreneur, former chairman of Pizza Express and Channel 4 when it was good, as well as the Royal Society of Arts, Luke Johnson. And we're also joined by Derek Kinney, who knows about all things money. He has a leading financial website, book and podcast. In fact, we're going to get a plug for that book out very shortly because it looks like a fascinating read and it is a bestseller. Perhaps I could start with you, Derek Kinney. Do you think that corporations should stay out of big business? Sorry,
Mark, great to be with you. First of all, happy 4th of July to your British audience. You know, if you'd been with us, you'd be off of work on Monday.
Well, indeed. May I wish all Americans a happy 4th of July, and may I say God bless America.
Well, and to your point, we saw recently in a Rasmussen survey, 2/3 of Americans said corporate executives should stay out of politics. We saw a CNBC survey just last week that echoed the same thing. 2/3 of Americans say corporate executives stop getting involved in issues you have no place in. Here's my concern, Mark, more than ever. Don't let these advocacy groups dictate corporate policy. Companies need to look and say, who is our real customer right now? And if they tell us we should be a part of an issue, then we want to take a look because it affects our bottom line. Don't let an advocacy group that doesn't even shop with us have a voice and give them the time of day that they clearly don't deserve.
Well, yes, and I just wonder, Derek, whether that old adage, go woke, go broke, is starting to be proven true. So we've seen shares in Netflix tank because of their finger-wagging woke storylines, and even Lightyear, which is part of course, the remarkable oeuvre of Pixar, follow-up to Toy Story, has done very badly at the box office because it's so woke. So what do you think? Do you think that in the end customers will vote with their wallets?
Well, I think that's exactly it. All of us are in an election every single day. And the reality is we get to vote with our hard-earned dollars. And wise companies right now will listen to those consumers and see where the dollars go, not the hollow voices that are not actually their consumers. Right now, we saw, for example, Disney here in the U.S., the day the governor signed that bill into law, Disney hit a 52-week low. I think companies right now should tread lightly and not listen to the wrong people. It's the customers and the shareholders that will likely drive the lasting profitability and should drive the culture of the company as well.
Luke, you have run some of the most successful companies. Sorry, I got my teeth back in. You've run some of the most successful companies in the country. Do you think that companies are motivated to make the world a better place, or is this is about their branding and virtue signalling?
Well, I know it's not what you want to hear, me agreeing with your other speaker, Derek, but I do. I think companies should, generally speaking, keep their noses out of politics. I think what is particularly happening is that some companies are allowing a small group of their younger employees to dictate their behavior and policies. And they're getting involved in stuff that isn't their business. They should focus on making their products better and serving their customers better and keeping all their staff happy and making a return for their shareholders. And obviously, while doing that, they will be doing good for society because they're creating jobs, they're investing in the economy, they're paying tax, they're generating exports and so forth. And that's what the role of business in society is: new products, keeping the public satisfied, not telling them about how they should lead their lives or dictating to them politically correct nonsense.
Is there any aspect or element to which you would have politics in your branding, Luke, for any of your fantastic businesses? For example, Gales, the bakery chain. Would you have rainbow flags or perhaps the symbol of Black Lives Matter? Is there any branding you would go for that you think's appropriate for a company?
On a personal basis, I prefer that we keep out of all that sort of thing. It's fair to say that some of my companies are involved in things like Pride. I don't see that as quite a political issue, but I think it should be done in a low-key way and not in your face, because, you know, our job is to serve all our customers, a whole spectrum of customers. And we're not in the business of bullying them or, as you say, virtue signalling.
Derek, this is all the rage in America. It feels like it originated in the United States. It's the US ice cream company Ben & Jerry's who have been lecturing the British government about their border policy.
Well, it's true. And I like Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but I'm willing to put it aside when politics crosses into my dessert choices. The bottom line is this: as consumers, we want to use our dollars to direct positive change. Just because a company has such a following as Ben & Jerry's doesn't mean I'm going to follow along with that. But here's my concern. People are busy. People are raising a family. They're working very, very hard. And here's my concern. They will just go along with this and not take the time to change their dollars and their purchasing behaviors, which signals to companies like Ben & Jerry's and others, oh, the public must be with us, therefore we will keep doing this, and other companies will follow their lead. Right now, people need to wake up and recognize, look, my dollars have perhaps the greatest power than they've ever had, and I want to make sure companies hear what I want those dollars to truly stand for, more than just the product or service.
Where does this go, do you think? I mean, are we stuck with woke companies for the foreseeable future, or will they change tack at a certain point? Is this just a fashion fad?
It's a very
Mark, I don't think it's a fashion fad at all.
Hard to answer question, and I don't know is the answer.
Yeah, I think we probably all don't know, do we, Luke? But I suppose these companies, Luke, you are one of the country's most successful entrepreneurs. They predominantly, exclusively exist to make money and to generate wealth. And if they start to realise that some of these policies are backfiring and annoying customers, they will stop.
I think that's true. It's, as you say, sometimes hard to distinguish. I hope that the more enlightened boards realise that it isn't for them to dictate to the public on political issues, and that businesses that meddle in politics are playing with fire because they risk offending certain of their customers. They risk upsetting some of their staff. And, you know, we have political parties and there are, you know, activist groups out there and so forth. And, you know, businesses are, as you say, in business to, you know, supply wants and services the public needs, produce products, create jobs, etc., but not to police and scold and cajole and bully the public about their political or cultural views. And I don't think it's for private enterprise to get involved with that sort of stuff.
And you've made a few bob as a successful entrepreneur. The drinks are on you. Because of your obsessive focus on a quality product, Pizza Express, Gales, Channel 4, you name it, but also customer service, right? This is your absolute credo. Can I just quote the tweet from Halifax? This is an official Halifax tweet in response to a customer who politely pointed out they did not appreciate the pronouns policy in Halifax branches. And Halifax tweeted, "We strive for inclusion, equality, and quite simply, in doing what's right," pretty grand statement, "if you disagree with our values, you're welcome to close your account." This is remarkable stuff from a company that's there to serve the public, Luke.
Yeah, and I think it was very inelegantly put. There's nothing wrong with Halifax saying we strive for inclusion and diversity, very worthy aims. And if employees, for example, want to put their pronouns on their name badge, again, I think that's down to the individual employee.
Of course.
I don't think the company should be dictating it to their staff. And I don't think the company itself should be pushing it down the throat of their customers in an overt way and in that passive-aggressive way saying, you're welcome to close your account. You know, that is simply bad business and dumb. And I think it's backfiring on them, frankly.
Well, I agree. And Derek Kinney, as I pointed out, delighted to say Charlie Mullins is with us in a second. Derek Kinney, let me just make that point to you that, you know, I'm all for free speech. So if you want to wear a badge that has your pronouns on it, great. My concern about this policy from a company that you wear a badge at work and it says he, him or she, her, if you're the one that doesn't wear one, you're a bigot. You're going to be a bad person. So it's not really voluntary, is it?
No, it's not voluntary at all. And I think Luke's point is so well said that, listen, this comes down to the individual employer having a policy, but how that policy is implemented and executed is the key. For example, if I own a company and I want to support a cause that I know other people aren't going to be aware of, but if I say this cause lines up with our values and we value each human being, therefore we are supporting this cause, whether you are for the cause or against it, you still value human beings. And the point here is making sure that as a company, we are valuing the human being. If we are valuing the policy and the cause and supporting the antagonists of those people, I think it's eroding what business truly stands for. And I think it'll give rise to entrepreneurs and business owners. I write about this in my book, Good Money Revolution, now more than ever, that can take a cause that's positive and actually use it to grow their business and improve people's lives.
Has taken America by storm, and I'll give the details of that book in just a moment, Derek, and I'll read it, and then I can make some money and retire, though I never would, because this is the best job in the world. What about the hat trick of legendary entrepreneurs? Because with us now is the founder of Pimlico Plumbers, which is a remarkable business, a very innovative business model, focused on customer service. Charlie Mullins, welcome to the show. What was your reaction to the policy of Halifax encouraging their staff to wear badges with pronouns on?
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think this is just a clear case of businesses giving in to the woke brigade. They really need to grow a pair and stop being manipulated by this ridiculous sort of load of rubbish. Absolutely ridiculous. They're going to lose so much business, and who really cares? All you want to be called is John or Bill or Mary, or, you know, all this nonsense about he, she, I want to be called this, that and the other. I mean, you know, it's just absolute nonsense. I mean, you're either male or female. And as simple as that. They don't need to get involved in it, the Halifax. I think a big business like them are just really letting themselves down, and they need to grow a pair and stand up to these minority of people that just are really acting like oddballs, if I'm being honest.
Charlie Mullins, I agree with you, and I think it echoes a point made by Luke Johnson, which is that I think it's these very powerful, rich businesses that are being bullied by woke 20-somethings in the social media department.
Well, of course, but, you know, they're big enough and brave enough not to put up with that. And that's how they've built their name over the years and a reputation by good customer service. And to actually come up with a quote on their website, on social media, if you don't like it, go somewhere else, that's the worst thing they could have done. I mean, obviously, who's ever come out with that is probably in favour of this woke nonsense. So if I was them, I'd get rid of that person, and anybody that wants the nonsense on their badge, I would just have to get rid of them. I couldn't care about tribunal. At the end of the day, you can't have people disrupting your business. And, I mean, it's fairly clear. On your birth certificate, it says male or female. I mean, if my grandma had a pair of balls, she'd be my grandfather. So, you know, what are they going to do with this?
Well, I've got no doubt that, in a sense, your grandma did have a pair of balls if she's got your DNA, Charlie. But the bottom line is, and your pipes, you are a plumber, but the question is, now I put it to the other gentleman whilst we were getting your line sorted, which is, are we stuck with this now? Are we going to be lectured by companies for the foreseeable future?
Well, I think so, if Halifax give into it, but I think they're going to backtrack on it. And, yeah, you're going to have the sort of tail wagging the dog. And we need to stand up to these people. It's a minority of people. Probably Halifax management don't even care about it. I think they're just trying to sort of go along with, you know, a very minority of people that are worrying about what they can be called and what they can't. Maybe have no badge for the ones that are unsure what they are. But well, yes, it's going to cost a lot of business to the Halifax, and this is going to just create more and more tribunal cases. Busybodies saying, you know, you called me this, you called me that. Why don't you call me an oddball? I don't want to be called this. I don't want to be called that. Have your proper name on it. You're male or female, or go and get a job somewhere else.
Yes, I wonder though, Charlie, the Halifax would argue that they just want to make sure that someone is not misgendered, in other words, referred to in the wrong sex. They also want to be inclusive. I know you're a liberal yourself. If someone was born Bob but wants to identify as Lorraine, good luck to them, right? I'm sure that's your view as well. All Halifax are trying to do is make those people feel welcome.
Really? Well, I would make them feel unwelcome then, because you don't need them people in the workplace. They're troublemakers. They're going to cause more and more problems, and they're just going to encourage other people. I mean, look, they're the people you don't want working for you, if I'm being honest. So you know, they're busybodies, they're nuisances, they're oddballs. They need to go. I mean, why put up with them? I mean, you're paying the wages. You just don't need it. Look, for millions and millions of years, we've used male or female. Why are we changing now?
Well, yeah, that is an important question. Did Pimlico Plumbers indulge in any campaigns at all? Anything political, Charlie, when you were in charge?
Yeah, undoubtedly. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it was very strong on Brexit. I don't think it's an issue giving your views and opinions on something, but this isn't just political. This is just woke nonsense. This is woke at its worst, and it will continue to get worse until we stand up to these people and just tell them to go and get a job somewhere else. You know, let somebody else call them he, she, Mary, or oddball, or whatever they want to be called. Let them go somewhere else. I won't be arsed with them, honestly.
Have you live from Nashville? What takes you to the United States, Charlie?
My partner Rara, she's a singer. She's recording an album out here, which is coming out soon. And I'm sort of doing business advice on that. And her name's Rara, and she's a female.
So now you're a music impresario. Well, I bet she's got a great set of pipes on her as well. Why doesn't your missus come into GB News to tell us about the album when it's out, Charlie?
Yeah, she will do. It's out in September, and it's going to be a great album, I believe. Yeah, she's out here with the best, singing on the Dolly Parton mic and in that studio. So it's brilliant. But yeah, she'll come in, but she's a female, and she just wants to be called Rara.
That will do for me. Charlie, what a treat to have you on the show, and thanks for making the time. You're busy in the States, but it's been a great conversation. Charlie Mullins, former founder, of course, and CEO of Pimlico Plumbers, and, of course, I'm delighted to say the former chairman of Channel 4 Pizza Express, currently Gales, the Royal Society of Arts is on his CV. This man has the Midas touch, Luke Johnson, and also a good friend of mine, a new friend of mine, all the way from the United States on the eve of the 4th of July, Derek Kinney. His book is out. It has taken America by storm. It's called, how about this? I love the name of this book, How to Make More Money to Do More Good. And it's by Derek Kinney, and it's out now. Derek, thank you so much for joining us as well. What's your view? Mark at gbnews.uk. A very, very busy hour and 15 to come. Remember, we don't do boring. Not on my watch. After 10, another monologue's coming. My take at 10. Hear about this. Tesco are at war with Heinz, and I've picked a side. Find out who at 10 o'clock. And also, we'll be joined in the studio by someone that escaped from the evil North Korean regime. She tells her story. The worst regime in the world. You won't want to miss it. And in the news agenda with my panel next. How do you feel about the government controlling the speed of your car? We'll discuss that next.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Need a clicker. Lots more to get through on Mark Dolan tonight. And let me tell you that we'll be asking, what is the polite way to break up with someone? Rupert Murdoch allegedly dumped his partner by email. So we'll discuss that later. Now on to our viral video of the day, and you will barely believe this. A Russian man has hit the headlines for his fancy football skills, but he's come up against an unusual defender. Take a look at this. Here it is. Not only does he go past him, he nutmegs him. And he wasn't done there, going past a second time. He's a brave boy. He must have been Rio Ferdinand or maybe Roberto Carlos. Ooh. I'll get my coats. Thanks to Tom Pollard for the gags. What a video. Lots more to get through. Let's discuss this with my panel. New vehicles made in the EU will have speed-restricting technology installed in them from next week, with the UK tipped to follow suit. From Wednesday, the Intelligent Speed Assistance, or ISA systems, will be installed as standard in all cars, vans and trucks that haven't already hit the dealership floors. It will use GPS and cameras to warn the drivers before restricting power to keep them below a certain speed. Don't worry, though, the UK government is yet to confirm it'll be required for British motors. But how do you feel about the government slowing down your car? David Hamilton, I know you drive a Bentley. Pretty fast.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
You should. I think you. For me, it's got to be a Rolls-Royce or a Bentley for David.
I have had a Rolls-Royce and a Bentley. I'm down to a Range Rover now, I'm afraid.
You're
down to a Range
Times
Rover.
are hard.
I live in the country. That's my excuse. I'll tell you what I think about this, Mark. I think that they're going to lose an awful lot of money with fines, aren't they? Think of all the fines that they get at the moment for people breaking the speed limit. They're going to miss all that money.
Well, that's a really good point. It's a massive source of income. And that's a conflict of interest, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also, won't it remove the pleasure of driving? I mean, isn't driving a great leisure activity?
It would remove it for me, I must say, because I like to be in control of my car. I remember, having cruise control, where you leave it at 70, you haven't got your foot on the throttle, as it were. But I I feel that with this, that you suddenly, the control is taken away from you. If I go a little bit over 30 or whatever it is, I'll face the penalty and I'll pay the fine. But no, I don't like this idea at all.
And there are times when you need a bit of power to get out of trouble.
Absolutely you do, yeah. You have to accelerate past people to get out of trouble. And, yeah, I think the other thing is, too, that I think Chris actually made... I'm not going to pinch his...
No, you can pinch it, David. It'll be lovely.
He made a very good point.
Go on, pinch it, David. Pinch it, David.
No, you better not. He's only got one.
Exactly.
No, what was it? What did he say? What did the big man say?
Yeah, so no, I'll say... It'll be bad news for the motor industry because actually I'll keep my old cars. Why would I want to get myself a new car? You know, if actually it's governed and restricted and I can't do what I want, you know, I'll go with my old cars where I can feel free and enjoy myself. And
yeah, I'll stick to my old Range Rover.
Yeah. Well, I might hang on to the Prius, which is, let's be honest, a hairdryer on wheels. Also, the way that cars are marketed is very much about their power and speed.
Yeah.
All the adverts, the car's always flying through mountains, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, look, clearly we've all got restrictions in our driving and you know, there's a national speed limit and most of the time we adhere to the speed limit. But it's nice to know that every now and again you can put your foot down and experience the wind going through your hair. I experienced so much my toupee fell off.
We are wondering about that. Although it does mean your forehead is now completely clear of lines.
Oh, yeah, the boys said I've not got a forehead, I've got a 10 head.
There you go. Smooth as a baby's bum. Leilani, do you put your foot down when you're behind a wheel?
You know what? I have to say that I usually generally drive actually quite slowly, and I still don't like this idea. I understand there's safety reasons or whatever, but I don't like the idea at all of the government getting involved in any way with cars, because what next? Say there's another lockdown, and you know how we had the lockdown and they said you can't go within a certain radius of your house. What are they going to do? Start fiddling around with your engine and putting restrictions on it there. So it's like a mission creep. It starts with speed limits, then it's your carbon neutral footprint, and then it's your how far you're going from home and your mileage and everything else. And I just don't like it at all.
That's
whatsoever.
right.
The only thing I hate is the 20-mile-an-hour limit, because when you've got a Range Rover, and I hate to, you know, push that point, but it's almost impossible, actually, to drive at 20... It's very difficult in any car to drive at 20 miles an hour. And all around London now, 20-mile-an-hour speed limit.
But I think, David, that's actually the point. I think people want to discourage the motor car. You are spot on. It's very difficult to drive at 20. Before you know it, you are at 25, 30. Sooner or later, they want you to be so frustrated you don't take your car into town.
We're getting overtaken by cyclists.
Exactly. Well, we are, quite literally. And I agree with you about the 20. I mean, certainly on really, really quiet neighbourhood streets, it makes sense. But main roads in our great cities, 20 miles an hour does not work.
There are some boroughs that are nearly all 20 now. It's
the whole thing, the whole borough. And the problem is, you know, on a main road, I go around on my little moped, I get overtaken by cars by sticking to the speed limit, which is hazardous in itself. You know, so I think the world's gone mad, but I'm afraid it gets worse because, according to DVLA data, a record 8.6 million parking tickets across Britain have been issued by private firms in just a year. Nearly 9 million parking tickets. That's a staggering average of 23,000 per day between April and March of this year. And at a time when the cost of living crisis is crippling people, these tickets cost up to £100. I mean, that is what I call daylight robbery, Leilani. And the DVLA, they get a cut of £2.50 for each of these tickets, even if it's a private company.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand fining people... sorry, is this is speeding or parking?
No, this is parking tickets.
Oh, no.
So another attack.
Well, yeah.
For the temerity of parking your car.
It's like the parking tickets are just waiting, literally, for parking wardens are waiting, literally, for the moment you go over that minute. They're out, rushing out there. And it's just money collection, because there's a lot of people that just cannot park in front of their homes. And there's just no space anywhere.
What about parking in hospitals, where you go to hospitals and you're driving round and round to try and find a parking space, people almost fighting over them, and you get fined there.
Yeah, I've had the experience of a parking attendant actually duping me into parking, and when I left, He put parking
Yeah.
on my car because I asked the question: is it okay to park here?
Yeah.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Said yeah, you can park there.
Do you think he recognised you? I think he's a fan.
Yeah, Akabus ain't laughing now. But yeah, I mean,
Did he know he was dealing with an Olympian?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he was a she, but it doesn't really matter.
That was very sexist of me. Typical woman.
But I think she's a woman. Actually.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a.
Well, I mean, did she have a badge? Was it she, her?
Ah, there you go. She had long hair and she had a chest that's different to mine.
This is it. Briefly, Leilani, the country, the state is at war with the motorist, except that the motorist pays a lot of money in petrol duty, in road tax. We make our contribution, and driving is a big part of the economy.
Yeah. It's huge, and they really are, like Chris said, making it really difficult on the motorist. I mean, the government's taking almost like half of the money out of our, what we're putting in our petrol tanks. The government's taking half of it to pay for probably this cost of lockdown that we're going through right now, and all the printing of the money and everything else. So, they're taking money from us at every single point.
They are.
And nobody wants us and nobody loves us, particularly if you have a Range Rover.
Yeah, well, that's right. David Hamilton is the low-hanging fruit. My brilliant panel return in the next hour. We'll be discussing lots and lots of big stories, including what is the polite way to break up with someone. And after this, in my take at 10, Tesco are at war with Heinz. I've chosen a side. Find out why. And my Mark Meets guest is someone that escaped the evil North Korean regime, Hyun Park. An incredible story. You won't want to miss it. Plus the papers at 10:30. Don't go anywhere.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
It is 10 o'clock and this is Mark Dolan tonight. My Mark Meets guest is one of the most compelling we've ever had on the show. Hyun Park escaped the evil North Korean regime and she tells her incredible, harrowing story in just a few minutes. Hear about the true horrors of the worst totalitarian regime in the world. With me throughout the programme, a stellar panel of radio legend Diddy David Hamilton, model and TV personality Leilani Dowding, and broadcaster and Olympic hero Chris Akabusi. In the news agenda with my panel, we'll be discussing, as the iPhone celebrates its 15th anniversary, have smartphones made the world a better or a worse place? And after Rupert Murdoch allegedly ended his marriage to Jerry Hall by email, what is the appropriate way to dump your partner? Plus tomorrow's papers at exactly 10:30. And after this, my take at 10. Tesco are at war with Heinz. And I've picked a side. Find out who and why after the headlines with Bethany.
Thanks, Mark. I am Bethany Elsie, here to get you up to date on GB News. The former Deputy Chief Whip, Chris Pincher, is seeking professional medical support and hopes to return to his duties as an MP as soon as possible. He resigned from his post on Thursday after allegations of sexual misconduct. He's accused of groping 2 men at a private members' club while drunk. Mr Pincher was suspended from the Conservative Party yesterday after the parliamentary watchdog launched an investigation. He says he's truly sorry. The Prime Minister's 2019 election pledge to build 40 new hospitals by the end of the decade is facing an investigation. The government's official spending watchdog is planning a value-for-money review. It's after the Shadow Health Secretary warned the plans are a waste of taxpayers' money, with many hospitals having alterations or refurbishments instead of being new. Wes Streeting has also raised concern over delays, with NHS trusts still waiting for funds to be allocated. The Home Secretary has vowed to get justice for a group of migrants who died in a small boat when crossing the English Channel last year. Priti Patel warned the UK and French authorities would pursue the people smugglers responsible for the deaths of 27 migrants. They drowned after their boat sank halfway across the Channel last November. 10 suspects have appeared in court in France, charged with multiple offences, including manslaughter and human trafficking. British Airways and Heathrow Airport have welcomed measures to help airlines prevent last-minute holiday cancellations this summer. The government will allow a one-off amnesty on airport slot rules, allowing airlines to cancel flights without being penalised. But the summer schedule must be finalised by this Friday to give passengers plenty notice. Recently, travellers have continued to complain of long queues, cancelled flights and lost baggage at UK airports. And more than 1 million people have gathered in central London to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the UK's first ever Pride Parade. Dame Kelly Holmes has said she'll never live behind that curtain again, as she spoke at the event in the capital just a few weeks after publicly coming out. The Olympian introduced singer Emily Sandé before her performance in Trafalgar Square. She also came out in recent months. The London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, has described it as the biggest and most inclusive Pride Parade in history.
I'm quite clear. We're marching today for an open, inclusive, accepting world. We're marching today for those in Oslo, those who haven't made the progress we've made. We're also marching today for love. I'm quite clear. Here in this great city, we should be a beacon of inclusiveness, of openness, but also a place where you can be free to be who you want to be and free to love who you want to love.
On TV, online and DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to Mark.
Welcome to Mark Dolan tonight. Big stories, big guests and big opinions in the news agenda with my panel as the iPhone celebrates its 15th anniversary. Can you believe it? 15 years of the iPhone. Have smartphones made the world a better place or a worse place? And after Rupert Murdoch allegedly ended his marriage to Jerry Hall by email, what is the appropriate way to dump your partner? Plus another topical game show and tomorrow's papers at exactly 10:30 sharp in just 25 minutes with full panel reaction. And what a panel, by the way. Radio legend Diddy David Hamilton and model and broadcaster Leilani Dowding and Olympian and broadcaster Chris Akabusi. Also with me in the studio, my Mark Meets guest is Hyun Park, who escaped the evil North Korean regime. She tells her story in just a few minutes. Hear about the true horrors of the worst totalitarian regime in the world. But first, it's time for my take at 10. I've always loved our supermarkets, and I've got to be honest, I'm a bit of a tart. I go to all of them, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Waitrose, Asda, M&S, but I've got to say this week, Tesco have really won my heart. With Brits in the grip of a cost of living crisis, they've stood up to the bosses at Heinz and have said they will not pass on higher prices to their customers. Heinz are looking to hike the cost of their goods up to 30%. Now, Heinz are a huge global conglomerate headquartered in the US with a turnover in the tens of billions. And they're trying to crank up the price of baked beans, tomato ketchup and mayonnaise, and even chicken soup. This is 57 varieties of wrong. In recent weeks, I've been saying that the government must reduce waste and curtail spending, given the parlous state of the nation's finances. And everyone I know has been tightening their belts. And millions have been impacted by high energy prices, the rising cost of fuel and regular household goods. So it's about time these extraordinarily rich corporations took a bit of a hit too. It wouldn't hurt them to freeze prices for a year or so, even if their costs have gone up. This would acknowledge what ordinary people are going through, and it would be appreciated. And I've got no doubt that our UK-based small and medium-sized businesses have already had to absorb a substantial hit in extra costs in order to keep their customers. Heinz should do the same. Full credit to Tesco for standing up for their customers. Tesco is an amazing business, a British firm, a huge employer responsible for a monstrous contribution to UK GDP. It's a global model for retail and a company with values and standards, which it is demonstrating by the bucket load this week. So well done, Tesco. You're absolutely right. Every little helps. A slogan that demonstrates your understanding of your customers. Meanwhile, Heinz just don't get it. Of course, there is a simple way for us to resolve this issue, which is to purchase the excellent own brand items instead. Now, I love Heinz products, including this low-sugar sauce. But they've got to show a brain at Heinz and show a heart. Because right now they're playing catch-up. You say tomato, I say tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. And I've got a clean-up operation on my hands after the show. It's time now for Mark Meets, in which I speak to the biggest names in the world of politics, showbiz, sport and beyond, as well as those who simply have a big story to tell. Tonight, Hyun Park, a woman who faced starvation, torture and persecution in North Korea before coming to the UK. She escaped from the country in 1998 and later became a British citizen after suffering forced repatriation in China. She fled to the Chinese border with her brother after their father and uncle died of starvation when famine struck. She became a victim of human trafficking and was sold into forced marriage to a Chinese farmer with whom she had a child. In 2004, she was arrested and sent back to North Korea, where she faced torture and persecution in a forced labor camp. But she was thrown out when they thought she was close to death with gangrene. A stranger nursed her back to health and helped her to escape and reunite with her son. Miss Park is now a language tutor living in the Fairfield area of Bury and campaigns for the rights of all North Koreans to live without fear of torture and persecution. She said, in comparison, my life in the UK is heaven. And I'm delighted to say that Hyun Park joins me now. Hi, Hyun. Good to have you on the programme.
Good evening.
How long have you been in the UK now?
I've been living here for 14 years now.
14 years. Has your time in the UK, has it healed the wounds, these psychological wounds that you've suffered?
Where I live in here, totally different world. Because it's North Korea is hell and this is heaven.
Yeah.
So first time was didn't understand any English, but many is the warming people and the British people helped me. So that's why today I am here. Yeah.
Of course. So you were born in North Korea. Whereabouts in North Korea?
I was born in North Hamgyong province in Cheongjin. It's near the China and Russia border areas. It's part of in north side.
And of course, it was a totalitarian regime from the moment you were born. Did it change as you were growing up?
Never changed. And when I lived in North Korea, I never heard totalitarian regime or dictatorship because my country leader was great leader, not only in North Korea, in all over the world.
Right.
Yeah. So we learned that is Kim Il-sung's history, and he fight Japanese era in 1945. So then Korea is revolutions. So we believed that, and we never heard that World War II or what happened in outside countries. We only learned about the Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, and nowadays Kim Jong-un.
And tell me about your childhood.
When I was a child, my parents always told to us, be careful when you say what is outside kind of world, because it's a daytime is bird heard your voice, and the nighttime is mouse is heard your voices. So it was really scared. Always when we said some word is put out, that is always first thought about this is wrong or right word. So life is totally controlled. All people is kind of not personal life, it's a kind of machine's life. Yeah. So in North Korea, so we wake up same time, still 5 a.m. It's the same times, because it's many village or apartment. We have got one of the captain. So captain is shouting to us, wake up, wake up. Then we woke up together, and then cleaning the roadside, apartment, inside. And after father is work and the children go to school. So I was a child. I usually played war games with my friends, because North Korea always say that it's America and South Korea is enemy countries. So that's why Korea is divided. So we continue to fight America and South Korea, and one day we revolutions in Korea.
So do you feel that as a child and growing up, you were being brainwashed by the state?
That time I didn't understand what means brainwashing, but
it was normal to you.
Yeah, that is a normal life where I was born, and the father, teaching the same issues. Kim Il-sung is a great leader in our country, and the school is the same, public place is the same, and in a home, it's without the family pictures, only Kim Il-sung and the Kim Jong-il pictures.
No family pictures at home?
Yes.
Just yes. Kim
Il-sung and Kim Jong-il.
Yeah, and Kim Il-jun.
Yeah.
Now, the current president. And did you have poverty as a child? Did your family have money?
Oh no, North Korea is totally not give to us. My mother is a housewife, so she never worked. Only my father's work. So he get the salary, but this salary is not enough, not to buy 1 kilogram rice in a market. So kind of our life is modern slavery in our now 21st century.
So your father worked full time and he could not afford to buy rice in the market?
Yes, because the government gave to us rice. It's every month.
Allowance?
Yes. So every month, it's twice a month, North Korea government gave to us rice. So it's depending, housewife is 300 grams a day, and the student is 400 grams a day, and the workers between 700 or 900 grams. So that is my family is five. My father is work, so 700 grams. So children is 400 grams a day, and the mother is 300 grams. So that is.
And meat?
No, meat is also special. Meat and eggs also special. That is Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il's birthday. They gave to us.
So you only got meat and eggs and high-quality protein on the president's birthday, the leader's birthday?
And also oil and, the soybeans and the salt also government gave to us.
Salt was rationed?
Yes, salt, yeah.
So you were hungry as a child?
Of course, but we never said that we were hungry, because government said to us, socialism country people never hungry. You see that is South Korea's capitalism, and many bigger and hungry people outside, and homeless people. So you are nothing to envy. This country is nothing to envy, because that is a socialism country. Yeah.
And did you see state violence when you were growing up?
Oh, yes, yeah. I see lots of things, and I still memorize two things. One is man is executions in front of us, because he was hungry, so he killed a cow. Right. Cow. So it's North Korea, cow meaning is more popular than person. So he execution.
In North Korea, a cow is more important than a person.
Yes.
Higher status.
Yes, because it's cow is usually is agriculture workers.
And it's useful.
Yes. So, but the person is hungry, so he killed the cow. So he executions in front to us. Yeah.
So public execution.
Yes. Yeah. Public execution. That always happen. Yeah.
In the streets or where?
In the riverside.
Riverside.
Yeah, riverside.
And were you encouraged to watch these executions?
Because that is publicly allowed. It's schools and housewives, all is workers allowed, and we together in there, because that is government said to us, you have to watch. If you is banished these countries, what happened next?
So they make you watch the execution of a man murdered for being hungry, for killing a cow. And what are your emotions as a child or as a teenager watching an execution? What are you thinking?
We were really scared, and we couldn't say any word, because that is if I said something wrong word come out, it's all families sent to political prisons. So my neighbor also same is in early 1990s, North Korea stopped distributions. So this family father went to his hometown, it's a different city, and he met his friend and spoke about our government is problems. Yeah. So somebody is reported to him, and then all families sent to political prison camp.
And there's obviously no proper judicial system. The state just decides who goes to jail, who to execute. There's obviously no democracy. Do you think it's worse now under Kim Jong-un?
Yes, yeah.
Why?
Never changed, because North Korea is born in 1948, you know, and then many people learned Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il's history together. Yeah. But Kim Jong-un was new one, is only 10 years ago came out. Yeah. And also in 1990s, it's North Korea all those March, and the famine, and then 3 million people died of starvations, and after
3 million people starved to death.
Yeah, that times only 3 years times, and after people just opened their eyes and they started illegal businesses in market and everywhere. So after people understand this, North Korea is not a great country, and then same as me who escaped North Korea, and the family members now lives in South Korea or United Kingdom, and we send the money to North Korea. That is also illegal, but we send the money and we tell it to them truth stories. North Korea is not a great country. So now people changed their mind. So Kim Jong-un is really scared about that. So now he's controlled again. So stopped information again. And last month he said that North Korea is locked down because it's COVID inside there. But that is totally
another lie.
Liar, because yesterday they said that North Korea scientist has already found out that what COVID is came through inside North Korea. That is from South Korea in balloons. Yeah. The COVID, that is a virus, came to the balloons and then affected inside. Yeah. Who's believe that?
This was a news story in the last 24 hours that they said that these balloons are sent to help people from outside North Korea. And they're saying if you touch these balloons, you're going to get COVID. So you were lied to non-stop in your life. Will this regime end?
I don't know when. I don't know when it is exactly safe, but I hope once that there's a 1950s in June, is a Korean War is happen, and then British soldiers also joined this Korean War is South Korea side. So now is South Korea is a freedom country, but this war is still not finished. But many people is forgotten. British people also forget. So my hope is British society have been teaching again, that is what happened in Korean War, and then teaching again is communism and socialism, how destroyed our lives, and give to them opportunities. So people have to learn that is communism, is China, GCP, and North Korea socialism. So then they truly see what's happened inside North Korea. So this voice has changed.
This is what we need, and you've just said there that communism and socialism destroyed your life. I was talking about it on the show just on Wednesday in place of Dan Wootton, talking about, you know, socialism coming back to Western Europe, collectivism, the death of the individual. An extreme version is North Korea. You're out now, and I think you have political ambitions. Is that right, Ji-hoon? I think that you're a conservative politician.
Yes.
So, would you like to be in Parliament, or what would you like to achieve?
At the moment, I don't know, but I never give up my personal life and the political journeys, because without the politics, we don't get the fully freedom's life. So I continue to follow this political my life.
Do we take our freedom in the West for granted?
I've been living in the UK for 14 years, so Britain people really like independent and also the pop life. So freedom is Britain people more like is freedoms. But some younger people still forget that is freedom is need duty and responsibility, and freedom is not free. So I am also a human rights activist, so I continued telling the people is that if you never care about your freedoms, and then next generations could be like the same as me, modern day slavery. So
It's a very powerful message, and freedom must always be fought for. As you said, freedom is not free. What a line. I've got to say, the greatest privilege, Ji-hoon, to meet you, and I hope you come back and tell the rest of your story, because we could do 2 hours and we still wouldn't cover it. So my profound thanks there to the remarkable Hyun Park. I think you'll agree, a fascinating conversation. We'll head to Hollywood, California next for the latest news from the United States with the Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield. We've also got another great British game show coming up, a topical game show based around the news of the day, and the news agenda with my panel. What is the polite way to dump a partner? And 15 years after the birth of the iPhone, have smartphones made the world a better or a worse place? And don't forget, in 5 minutes' time, we've got the papers hot off the press with full panel reaction. See you in 2.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
The papers in just 4 minutes at 10:30, hot off the press, but it's time now for US News with the Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kinsey.
Hi, Mark. So good to see you. Give Chris a hug for me. I haven't seen him in a month.
Well, he's a fabulous human being, and I'm delighted to say I'm sharing a studio with him, so I'm sending a virtual hug.
Thank you, Kinsey.
All the way from Hollywood, California. You realise, Kinsey, you're making me terribly jealous.
Oh, well, I would give you a tickle if I could.
Well, I'd take that. I'll take that any day. Let's talk about an absolutely disgraced pop star, R. Kelly, who has sold tens of millions of records. I Believe I Can Fly, one of the biggest hits ever. He's now in jail for 30 years. Why?
Well, I mean, he's in jail for 30 years because we found out that he was a predator and was preying on young girls and utilizing government officials to hide these horrible acts. You know, he married Aaliyah when she was 15 years old. He'd been mentoring her since she was 12. So they had to annul that marriage. But that was just the start of, you know, some horrific acts. Dozens of women have come out and said that he violated them, abused them, and young men as well. But Mark, he's sentenced to 30 years in prison this month. But guess what happens at the end of the week? This man has the audacity to sue the Brooklyn jail that he's currently in. Ghislaine Maxwell is in the same jail for $100 million because they put him on suicide watch. And he says he's not suicidal. And he's suing the jail for $100 million. They put Ghislaine in the same, it's like protocol. If you're a high profile celebrity in this jail, they put you on suicide watch. You're private. You're away from everybody else. But I just want to read what they're saying is happening in this jail really quickly. They say that he cannot shower or shave. Sometimes he's not even afforded toilet paper. Meals are not provided with utensils, so he has to eat with his hands. They can't consult with their loved ones, and they're not given psychiatric care. They want $100 million. But Mark, imagine what this man has done to all of these people. I'm sorry you have to eat with your hands. Every once in a while, I don't feel like doing the dishes, and I have to do that too. And I didn't molest dozens of young women and destroy them for the rest of their lives.
Well, absolutely right. This guy's behaving like a diva, even behind bars. As far as I'm concerned, Kinsey, lock him up and throw away the key. Can we talk about Hollywood legend Bruce Willis, one of my favourite actors? And he's unfortunately had to retire as an actor due to health issues, but he's back in the news.
He is. Now, this is an expose on Randall Emmett, and I doubt you're very familiar with him over in the UK. He's a producer that has some pretty legitimate titles on his resume, Power on the Stars Network, but he's made some pretty trashy movies as well. And what's alleged here, why he's such a big deal in the States is actually he's also a reality star with the Housewives franchise, Vanderpump Rules. And so he ends up in the tabloids quite a bit. 50 Cent accusing him of not paying a $1 million loan in a timely manner, tore him up on social media. So we are in the States familiar with this guy much more, but he's accused in the Los Angeles Times in this expose. We know Bruce Willis now. We know he has asphyxia. And so they're accusing Randall Emmett of knowing he had these health problems and continuing to exploit him and take advantage of him for financial gain, getting very frustrated on sets. There was one instance where Bruce Willis could not kick a door in, even with the help of a stunt coordinator. And Randall Emmett allegedly stormed off set, and Bruce looked around upset, like devastated, and said, did I do something wrong? Really, hurt by that instance. So he's being accused of, whenever he had any financial trouble, creating, developing a not high quality film that he knew he could throw Bruce Willis in, and somebody would feed him lines into his ear just so that he could get that quick payday. Those are straight to DVD films in America, but worldwide, they've actually had some financial success. And so it's a pretty upsetting expose exposing how this man, who is a Hollywood legend, an icon, a very well-respected individual, was, manipulated for financial gain by this reality star.
Well, let me tell you, Kinsey, that Chris sends his love, as do I, and I can't wait to see you in a week's time. The Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting occasionally pops up elsewhere on GB News. This woman is in demand. And don't forget, very shortly, her book on Princess Diana will be coming out. She's got an amazing royal website called To Die For Daily. Check it out. Kinsey, see you in a week.
Bye.
Brilliant stuff. OK, folks, it is 31 minutes past 10. It's time for tomorrow's papers, hot off the press, as we do every Friday, Saturday and Sunday with full panel reaction. And we'll start with The Independent. Here's their front page. Thousands march for Pride, flying the colour fabulously in central London yesterday on the 50th anniversary of the Gay Rights Parade. And Tory MP claims he was groped twice by Pincher. A Conservative MP has claimed he was grabbed or groped on 2 occasions by Chris Pincher, who was suspended from the party on Friday after sexual misconduct allegations. Speaking exclusively to The Independent on the condition of anonymity, the man claims he was targeted twice by Mr. Pincher, first in December 2021 and again last month. Very worrying story and a big, big headache for the Prime Minister. Let's go to The Observer. Proud to be back. More photographs of revellers at the Pride celebrations in central London. Also, Johnson faces official probe on plan for 40 new hospitals. The government's official spending watchdog is to launch an inquiry into Boris Johnson's claim that 40 new hospitals will be built by 2030 as concerns grow in Whitehall that the pledge is unaffordable and has been greatly oversold to the public. Sunday Telegraph next. PM turned blind eye to sex pest warnings. Fresh allegations emerge as it is revealed that the whip quit in disgust over Pincher's role. Not good news there for the Prime Minister that the Telegraph are joining the chorus of disapproval, because the Telegraph is normally fairly Bojo-friendly. Remainer civil servants thwarting reforms, says Suella Braverman. And Queen's lighter duties confirmed by the Palace. Our amazing monarch will take lighter duties for the foreseeable future, given her age and her health, and who could blame her? Sunday Express now. Exclusive cabinet rift as ministers demand PM and Treasury act. Boris told we need tax cuts now. A cabinet battle is underway with ministers urging Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak to cut taxes now rather than waiting until the next election. The Sunday Times. I was furious and shell-shocked, says man groped by Pincher. Allegations there against this particular MP. Prince's honour for tycoon who bailed out his failed eco-village. Prince Charles ignored a courtier's advice against close ties with a peer who donated £1.7 million. There you go, more sleaze surrounding our future monarch. And last but not least, the Daily Star Sunday. Let's get hot and dirty. Stop washing warning as bikini summer set to bring water shortages. Britons will soon be getting in a sweat, with 35 degrees centigrade scorchers on the way. But we'll be told to wash and do the laundry less to prevent water shortages. Full steamy ahead, say the Daily Star. And those are your front pages. There you go. Well, look, lots and lots of stories to get through. How about this one, Leilani, on the front page of the Sunday Express? Cabinet rift as ministers demand the PM and Treasury Act cut taxes now. What's your view?
Definitely, they really need to, because they're collecting money all over the place, not just from income tax, but, you know, the duty on fuel, VAT on fuel, VAT on everything we buy. So I really think, you know, especially with essential items, let's cut VAT maybe on those, or there needs to be some kind of tax cut, because the cost of living has just gone through the roof.
The issue we have, Leilani, isn't it, are the nation's finances. The bottom line is that the government are running a deficit. That means that day-to-day spending is still based on borrowing, and it will be for the next few years. We've got £2 trillion worth of national debt. The government have got to get the money from somewhere, haven't they? I mean, if they do tax cuts, doesn't that involve more printing of money and more inflation?
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? We've got here, because of lockdown, which we were all told that when we said that this would happen, we were told that we were putting money and finances before lives. But now, look, you know, this could cost lives in the end when we get to the winter. So it's really, like, it is a catch-22 situation. We don't want inflation to go up. It's like, what do we do? But...
Well, I agree. And also, I've got to say, on this programme, I've had so many economists, during the pandemic say, oh, this borrowing is cost neutral. Interest rates are so low, we can effectively archive the debt, more or less never pay it off. How wrong they were.
Totally. I'm an economics dropout. I went to uni, did economics, dropped out after a semester. And even I was right from the start said, this is going to... Our kids, well, I don't have kids, but your kids, my sister's kids, grandkids, they're going to be paying this off forever. I said that. And people were like, you're so selfish. All you do is think of yourself. You're putting lives before. So, I'm not surprised this has happened, but I just don't know how we're going to get out of it.
Well, I think that's the issue. There is no clear answer to this one, is there, Chris Akabisi? If I had to write a monologue about the nation's finances, I don't have an answer. Because if we have tax cuts, which we need, that further inflates the debt. On the other hand, we've got a cost of living crisis, which is intolerable to millions of people.
Look, here's the thing. We say we haven't got any money. We say we've got a problem. There is a cost of living crisis. And yet we are talking about going into a war now with Ukraine. So we'll find the money for that. We had no money in 2001. Then we had a global financial crisis, and we found the money for the bankers.
Bailout
the bankers. So it always seems that when there's a major issue that affects a strata of society, money is found. But right now what we are saying is that the normal person on the street is very much struggling, and they are in a life and death existential scenario that come the next 3 or 4 months in October, when it all collides and we get increases in taxes and there's going to be a real heartfelt problem where people, we've talked about the heating and eating, well, both of them are life-threatening.
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of winter, October, November, it's freezing cold and you can't put on your heating, there's no point having being able to eat if you're going to die of hypothermia. So we've really got to start thinking about it seriously and find the money in the emergency scenario, as we would do for the bankers, as we would do for Ukraine.
Well,
I think we should enjoy the summer while we can. Because, as Chris says, the winter's going to be really tough. And, after the pandemic, where, that absolutely virtually bankrupted the country, where is the money going to come from? It doesn't just grow on trees.
And also, you've had a long and very successful career in broadcasting, and, we joked earlier, but you've made a good living over the years, and from the 70s what high taxes will do to an economy.
Do you know, I think back in the 70s, that was a very tough time. You had the 3-day working week, you had rampant inflation, probably even worse than it is now. But we were having such a good time, we hardly noticed it. And, one of the things that I think helped a lot was music. We had all that wonderful music at that time. We need more wonderful music now to get us through this time.
We probably do. Can you remember how much income tax you were paying in the late 70s?
Well, it was ridiculous, wasn't it? Even the standard rate of tax was just, was...
Well over...
But the funny thing is, 30, though, Mark, 40%. That we came through that. No matter how tough that time was, we came through it, and we will come through this. But at the moment, it does look grim.
Oh, but I also think, though, it's sort of in the 60s and 70s, expectations were different. In the 60s and 70s, we didn't expect to have the holidays abroad. We didn't expect to have 2 or 3 cars on the drive. We didn't expect to... Well, for example, in my time, when I started working in the 70s and 80s, and I was a young married husband... we couldn't eat meat 3 times a day. Not 3 times a day. Well, we couldn't eat 3 times a week, even, So we couldn't eat. So some of our meals would be like potatoes, spinach, and maybe a sprinkle of bacon. Yeah. Just a taste of flavour. Yeah. Whereas today, you expect to eat meat or fish or something each and every single day. So now, I'm not saying that I want the people in the 21st century, to go back to the way we were in the 20th century, but our expectations are so much more different. Yeah. So when we say a cost of living crisis, a lot of it is also around what we expect to be able to have. We expect to have central heating in every single room, rather than just the coal fire.
I think a lot of people are not going to be expecting that now, are they? They're going to be, expecting either heating or eating. That's the bottom line. We haven't seen the half of it yet. It is going to be tough. So we just need your humour to Get us through.
Well, if that's the case, then we're all doomed, aren't we? Speaking of doomed, by the way, the Prime Minister, David, under pressure because of the alleged behaviour of an MP. It's all over the Sunday papers. And it's interesting because normally the loyalist Sunday Telegraph have got the knives out for Boris. PM turned blind eye to sex pest warnings. And also the very Bojo loyal Sunday Express with the tax story, PM under pressure regarding tax. What do you think about the blonde bombshell? Can he survive this latest drama?
Do you know, I don't think anything seems to touch him. You know, I don't know whether he has a thick skin, but all this I can't think of anybody else in my lifetime who's had so much criticism. But it's just water off a duck's back. It doesn't. I think even, I was saying to Chris, you know, in the green room just now, I think even if they got rid of him, I don't think it would bother him. He'd bounce back. He'd make a fortune from speeches. I mean, look at the money they paid Theresa May for her speeches. I mean, he'd actually be entertaining, wouldn't he? Yeah. You pay to see him. So I don't think anything seems to bother him at all.
I suspect you're right. Leilani, I just wonder, I mean, the Prime Minister, you're not the biggest fan of lockdowns and COVID measures. We know that he's a lockdown sceptic. Do you fear that if he goes, this could be bad news for Brexit, bad news for lockdowns? Is it a case of careful what you wish for in terms of Boris going?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? He's a lot more careful than other leaders that we've seen, like Trudeau, Jacinda Ardern, like all of those.
Drakeford, Sturgeon.
Yeah, you know, Keir Starmer, I know he's the opposite party, but he really was pushing even more for lockdown. So Jeremy Hunt, who would we have if he went? And, you know, with all these talks of a few people wanting, you know, stronger measures again, would someone else put us into a lockdown again? And I mean, hopefully no one would actually go for it, given what it's done to the economy. But, I mean, it's a possibility, isn't it? And also, sadly, all of these scandals that keep on happening distract from policy and problems that we're having and situations we're facing. So it seems to be scandal after scandal after scandal, but maybe that's also watering the scandals down. So everyone's just like, oh, another one.
It does feel slightly like Fleet Street tomorrow have thrown Boris under the bus. There isn't one good news story in there, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously good box office. He's obviously selling their papers. I'm sick and tired of it, really. Boris is not a saint, but can we really hold him to account because Mr. Pincher decided to grab somebody's meat into fridge at a off-site party? I mean, is it really Boris's fault because this guy went off the rails? You know, I can't say I'm his greatest fan, but I'm certainly not his critic. The guy's doing a job. Let him get on with it. You know, he's here, there, everywhere. He's with the G7, G34. He's in Ukraine. He's all over. Let the guy do the job. He's had the toughest gig out. You know, he's had to get Brexit done, even though it's not fully done, but get Brexit done.
He ended our Brexit nightmare, didn't he?
100%. Yeah, he got on with it. He got on with that. Then he's had this pandemic to deal with, and I do believe that he's a little bit sceptical. But then again, he followed all the rules and got us all locked down and stuff. But he did his job. He did the vaccine rollout. Let the guy get on and do his job.
It's been one thing after another, hasn't it, really? I think it's just unfortunate this guy's name is Pincher.
Well, it is a bit. Pincher by name, Pincher by nature.
Trade.
Nicely done. Look, we've got lots more from my brilliant panel to squeeze in before the end of the show. This thing, the iPhone, is 15 years old. So, is the world a better or a worse place with smartphones? We'll discuss that. Plus another game show. And Rupert Murdoch has allegedly ended his marriage by email. So what's the polite way to dump your partner? We'll discuss that next.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Lots more to get through, including a topical game show based around celebrity divorce deals. That's right, we'll be playing that very shortly. And of course, reacting to the big stories of the day are three fantastic panellists. We've got radio legend, and let me tell you, Diddy David Hamilton, he might be in his 8th decade, but he's still on the national airwaves at the very popular Boom Radio. So do check it out. In fact, I think we've got some Boom Radio listeners watching. Great to have your company. Also, model, broadcaster and political commentator Leilani Dowding and motivational speaker, writer, broadcaster and Olympian Chris Akabusi. Now, it's been 15 years since Apple released one of the most iconic devices in history. Here it is, the iPhone. It changed the way that phones were used forever, and you can't go anywhere now without seeing one. The original model sold 2.2 billion units, propelling Apple to becoming one of the most valuable companies in the world. The smartphone brought almost infinite access to information, with your camera, music and laptop effectively rolled into one. But have smartphones been a positive influence, or are they just a modern-day addiction? What do we think? Have smartphones made the world a better place, David Hamilton?
Well, they haven't for me, actually. I brought my phone with me. I thought you might like it.
I know times are hard and you're not driving a Bentley anymore.
This is my retro phone. Very popular with Boom listeners.
That is older than some of the records you play on Boom Radio.
I think it's actually older than me.
Well, it predates Elvis, I think.
It does everything I need. I get phone calls, make phone calls, I get text messages. I don't take pictures, but other people take pictures, so that's fine.
Have you seen a negative or a positive influence of smartphones on other people that do own them?
Well, Mrs. Hamilton has a smartphone.
Mrs. H?
Mrs. H, and she keeps telling me that I should come into the modern world, and she's absolutely right, I should do. But no, it's wonderful. She picks up things like emails on there. Incredible.
She's got a smartphone, so you don't have to have one. Apparently Sir Elton John does not own a smartphone either.
Doesn't he?
No. Yeah, what it is, when you become such a celebrity, when you get to that level of Hamilton or John, someone else has the phone, they field the calls.
To be honest with you, I just don't want to be one of those people who's on their phone all the time. And what I'm loving this evening is that here we are, none of us on our phones, people actually talking. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Correct. Making eye contact, face-to-face, which we've missed for 2 years. Leilani, have smartphones made the world a better or a worse place?
So I'm in the middle. I think in a way they have, but I think it's the apps that are the big problem. During lockdown, I actually had a phone like his because I needed to go out and about. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't want to... I didn't scan in.
The worst thing ever.
The worst thing ever. I wasn't going to do it. I said, I can't scan in. I can't, show my QR code.
You thought, I'm not going to sign into the police state.
No, exactly. I'm not being part of that. I don't like all the tracking. And then you have the apps and all the photo apps that can become very materialistic, very bad for young body image, all the filters, all of that. I hate all of that. But getting your emails is great when you're on the move. But it's bad if it becomes reliant on it, because people like my mum don't have one. A bit like you, and you can't depend on
Sure, your
them,
mother's
so.
much younger than me.
Well, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I think it's a mixed blessing, but the genie's out of the lamp now. Smartphone technology is with us forever.
Yeah, so I love my smartphone. I play golf, and you download your app and you can see the whole course and brilliant.
Is that right?
So there's many blessings, but like you sort of intimated, my fear actually is that the smartphone is for the worst, because it's actually about surveillance and control. And it's surveillance and control by the back door. You know, you're GPS navigated. They know exactly where you are. They can listen in. People can listen in to you. A lot of the device track you. They can tell your profile by what you do with your phone. So actually, when you begin to think about it, there's a very pernicious side to the smartphone.
That's really true, actually, because you start getting ads. You can speak on your phone, not even type anything in, and all of a sudden, all these ads stop popping up. So you're like, hold on a minute, are you listening to me? And they are. The phones are listening to you.
I mean, sometimes, so you'll say something, and your phone will talk to you. I didn't even know I had Siri. I didn't even know. It talks to you. It said, but what did you say? And then it starts telling me stuff. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Leilani. You know, it listens in. The phone listens in.
Yeah, but Chris, you're used to having another woman in your life.
Hey!
I think the biggest concern is kids. You know, because we've grown up, most of us, I think, as kids, as children, we didn't have smartphones, but now this generation are born with an iPad in their hand at the age of 3.
Well, that's it. And they're not playing. They're not in the garage putting little bands together. They're not out dancing or doing things.
Are they going to have any social graces? Are they going to be able to make conversation? And are they going to have any social skills at all, I wonder?
They'll take a selfie.
Too right. Well, let's move on now to our final topic before the game. And this is a fascinating conversation. The world's most famous media mogul, Rupert Murdoch, has allegedly told his wife, Jerry Hall, that their marriage is over via an email. They've been married since 2016, but are set to split, which could see a vast divorce settlement with Mr Murdoch worth around £15 billion. Legal experts believe Miss Hall could receive up to £10 million a year and a share in £250 million worth of properties. That will soften the blow. But what is the polite way to end a relationship? Leilani, ending a relationship by email, what do we think?
Not good at all. I mean, you really should do it face-to-face. If it's on, you know, maybe it's different. If somebody's cheated or you might just want to walk away without doing anything.
Because you want to punish them.
Yeah, you want to punish them. But ending something by email when you're married is not a good thing to do. But I lived in Los Angeles and people would break up just by ghosting each other, which is like basically just disappearing and going AWOL.
Right, that's when you don't reply to emails or messages at all. Look, in the unfortunate or unlikely event that you have to part company with Mrs Hamilton.
Lady Hamilton.
Lady Hamilton. Let's say some groupie gets involved and you can't resist.
What with her?
She'd be mad to resist your fine figure. But what is the right way to end a relationship, do you think, David?
Well, it's certainly not by email. I mean, I think that's very crude. And apparently, you know, she still loves him. It came as a terrible shock. And it seems very strange. I think maybe his children, that's what she's saying, is his children perhaps behind it. But
or politics within the family.
Yeah, politics within the family. But certainly not by email. Chris is probably more of an expert on this.
David, what I'm really worried about is that you don't have a smartphone. It could be that your wife sent you an email years ago.
I could be gone already and I didn't even know it.
Well,
listen, I keep turning up.
Let's use this as inspiration for the Great British Game Show tonight, because we are going to play a game called Split the Difference. We asked the panel and you at home how much the celebrity payouts were. So let's start with celebrity couple. How much did Jeff Bezos pay Mackenzie Scott? How many? Let me give you a clue. It's billions.
Billions, 15 billion.
$38 billion.
Wow.
Gosh.
Wow.
How about this? Bill and Melinda Gates.
Can we have multiple choice?
30 billion.
OK, 50 billion, 65 billion or 80 billion?
Oh, my God.
65.
65 is the right answer. Nice work if you get it. Elon Musk and Grimes. How much did he have to pay her?
100 billion.
Now, would you believe, because they didn't have kids, $20 million.
Cheapskate.
Oh, wow.
Bargain. Brendan Fraser and Afton Smith, $50,000 a month forever, poor bloke.
Oh, God.
John Cleese and Alice May Eichelberger, $20 million as well, which is why the poor man still works.
Yeah. You never stop griping about
Thanks
it.
to my amazing panel. Stick around for headliners, and I'm back for Mark Dolan tonight, tomorrow at 9. See you then.
Looking ahead to tomorrow's weather, and the UK will have a mostly dry start in the east, but showers developing further west. Let's take a look at the details. In the southwest of England, there will be a scattering of showers through the morning. Some will be heavy, but it won't be quite as wet as it was today. Further east, it should be a fine morning with some decent sunshine around London, with a chance of a few showers developing later. There'll be plenty of showers across Wales, bringing the risk of heavy bursts and some rumbles of thunder too, which should ease through the afternoon. It's a similar picture across northwest England. The showers will start very early and will quickly turn heavy and perhaps thundery too. It will be a little blustery at times. The odd shower is expected in the northeast as well, but it should be a dry